Hello, hello, hello out there, everybody across the wide and wonderful internet. Michael Shibley, host of Modern Day Gladiators, the podcast here on the Stage Diver Radio Network. We are live from Casa de Shibley here just to break down some stuff. We've got week one of college football season, so I've got, of course, my faithful companion Smokey here as the Vols are set to kick off against West Virginia in just a little over 24 hours. You're excited about that, Smokey. Yeah, you're excited to get back into football mode. I am too. We've had some fun matchups already going on. We had some good college football last night, but man, it goes full bore on Saturday. So many teams going at it. I am so excited. It's great to have it back. And of course, you guys can listen to all my picks, all my opinions and everything on the Modern Day Gladiators podcast, where you get all your fine and wonderful podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, all the great stuff right there. Like, subscribe, share, comment on this video. If you guys are live and watching, I want to know about it. I want your questions. If you have any questions or comments, I want to hear about it as well. And share it with your friends. And of course, share all the great stuff you hear on the Stage Diver Radio Network as well. And of course, Smokey, you're set up for some good stuff. Yeah, I know. Don't look at me like that. We'll get to the picks. I know you're excited. You'll hear my opinion. Of course, we'll talk about how Tennessee's going to do against West Virginia coming up. Davy Crockett versus the Mountaineer. Both guys, really cool mascots. The Moonshine Bowl really taking place in Charlotte. We'll break that down at the end. But first, my conference picks and who I think is going to make it into the college football playoff for this year. I know it's so far away, so I'm probably going to be completely off, but we'll judge that later as we get into the season. But first of all, we run down my conference picks again. If you hadn't listened to the podcast, here they are. We've got out in the Pac-12, I've got Washington winning the Pac-12 conference. In the Big 12, I've got Oklahoma winning the Big 12. Also in the Big 10, I've got Wisconsin. A little bit of an upset? Not really. They're really, really good. They're just not playing in the tougher division out in the Big 10 East. So I've got Wisconsin winning that championship. Out in the ACC, I've got the Tigers of Clemson getting the win there. They are one of the favorites. And down in the SEC, should be a fun matchup. I've got Georgia winning the SEC East. I've got Alabama winning the SEC West. And then I've got Alabama winning the SEC title over Georgia in Atlanta to be SEC champions. So we've got that college football playoff. A little different here. My number one seed, I'm going to go with Alabama. I like just the Crimson Tide. I think they're going to be able to handle, no matter which person they've got at quarterback, I like Alabama to be the number one seed going in. Number two, Clemson. I think the Tigers look loaded. That defensive line is wonderful. I love it. It's one of the best units in college football right now. You got to enjoy that. Number three, out of the Big Ten, I've got Wisconsin. They are loaded. They're ready to go. I think the Badgers get into the playoff. And number four, I've got Georgia. So no matter what comes of this, the SEC championship game, I am going to pick Georgia to get in there. So it's going to be really, really interesting because just how they're going to seed it and what they think of all this stuff. I've got Alabama and Georgia playing each other in the SEC championship game, and then I've got them meeting in their first round matchup in the college football playoff, and then Clemson and Wisconsin in the second round. And the winners of that, just again, same song and dance. We've got Alabama and Clemson going to the finals against each other, and I've got Clemson getting the win. So it's going to alternate it. Alabama, Clemson, Alabama, Clemson. That's how I think it's going to go. Again, I could be completely wrong. We will see. I know, Smokey, I know you're excited to watch how all that happens, and I know you're happy that Clemson would be the national champion and not Alabama. I don't like Alabama either, but I've got Clemson winning it. I just love the way that defensive line works, and I think they can just dominate games as a whole. Meanwhile, let's go to picks for week one. A lot of fun matchups. Not all of them great, but some very fun matchups. Better than some week ones have been in the past. So let's break those down real quick. My top 10 games that we've got, I'm picking them right here. Florida Atlantic, the Owls, coached by Lane Kiffin, heading to Norman to face the Oklahoma Sooners. I think it will be a lot closer than a lot of people think. I still have Oklahoma getting the win, but I think the Owls and Lane Kiffin do well for themselves there in Norman. Ole Miss, Texas Tech, this game taking place in Houston. I like because of Texas Tech, their offense, Ole Miss, their offense. There's a lot of offense. There's going to be a lot of points in this game, but I do think Texas Tech, because they're playing in Texas, has a little bit of an advantage in this game. So I'm going to go with them, especially because the Land Shark defense that Ole Miss has been touting about forever, they're playing more like minnows right now. So I'm going to go with the Red Raiders getting that win. One of the best matchups of the week is number 6, the Washington Huskies facing number 9, Auburn. One of the reasons I do like Washington to win the Pac-12 but not get into the playoff is because I've got Auburn winning this game in Atlanta. I don't think there's a way that Auburn's going to lose 3 straight games in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium there in Atlanta. They lost the SEC Championship game. They lost the Peach Bowl to Central Florida. They're not going to lose 3 straight down there, even though I know Chris Peterson has gone to Atlanta and beaten a team from the SEC when he beat Georgia when he was the coach of Boise State some years ago. So should be a very exciting game, but I do have Auburn getting the win there. Looking down, another great ranked versus ranked matchup here in week 1. It's great to have this rivalry back. I know, Smokey, I know you're not a big fan of Big Ten schools or Notre Dame really much at all. I'm not either, but it's cool to see them playing again. I've got Michigan and Notre Dame. It is happening in South Bend. I like Notre Dame to get the win. I don't really trust. I think Shea Patterson is going to be a very good quarterback, the best, obviously, quarterback that Michigan has had since Jim Harbaugh has been there, but I still like it at Notre Dame, and I think Brian Kelly's going to get these guys ready to go. I like Notre Dame to get the win, mostly because it's at Notre Dame, and I think just as a whole team, I think Notre Dame has got a little bit of an offensive edge in that one. UNC Cal, UNC's going over a lot of suspensions right now, and they also have to travel all the way across the country to go play at Cal, so I've got Cal getting the win in that one. Louisville versus Alabama taking place in Orlando. Alabama, the number 1 team in the country. Louisville, they don't have Lamar Jackson anymore, so whoever the Louisville quarterback is going to be, not only do you have to fill the shoes of probably the best player to ever play at Louisville, but now you got to face Alabama in your first start. Good luck to you, sir. I've got Alabama winning that one. BYU, Arizona, Khalil Tate, the quarterback at Arizona, one of the most exciting players to watch. Check him out if you can. I've got the Arizona Wildcats beating the BYU Cougars. On Sunday, some Sunday night college football action. Another ranked versus ranked matchup. Miami versus LSU. That's happening in Arlington, Texas at AT&T Stadium where Jerry World is. And I'm going to end up and go with Miami in this one. Mostly, and this is not even a team versus team thing. It's coach versus coach. Mark Richt versus Ed Orgeron. I'm going with Mark Richt pretty much the whole time. So I'm picking the Miami Hurricanes to beat the LSU Tigers. Meanwhile, Monday Night Football for college football as well. Virginia Tech is traveling to Florida State to play the Florida State Seminoles. I've got Florida State winning. Willie Taggart's going to win his debut there at Florida State. Should be a very exciting contest there. The Hokies and Noles always seem to play very well when they play against each other. And of course, the one that I'm excited about, and I know, Smokey, you're very excited about as well. You're going to head to Charlotte. You're going to be there. That's going to be awesome to watch. But we've got this great matchup in Charlotte between West Virginia and Tennessee. Even though I'm going to be rooting really hard for my Vols, and of course, Smokey, you're going to be there barking and making all that type of noise, I still have, unfortunately, I've got West Virginia getting the win. Don't look at me like that. You knew this was coming. We talked about this, okay? Don't give me that. I know. I'm going to be rooting for Tennessee, Smokey. It's not like I'm going against them or anything. I'm just picking West Virginia to win. You want to hear why? Okay, I'll tell you why. So look, if you break it down, I love what Jeremy Pruitt has done so far, but so much of Tennessee is a mystery, which could be to their advantage too. I think the game's going to be a lot closer than the 10-point spread indicates right now. But when you break everything down, they've got Will Grier at their quarterback, who could be a first-round NFL draft pick for West Virginia. I really like what he does. He's already beaten Tennessee once when he was quarterback at Florida a couple of years ago, so you've got that to look at. Plus, he's got Sills the Fifth to throw to, who was a finalist for the Biletnikoff Award last year. He is a very, very good wide receiver. I do think it's going to be a lot closer because I don't trust West Virginia's defense much, and I think Tennessee, especially on the offensive line, is going to be a lot more improved. I think they're going to do their best to try and keep Will Grier in that West Virginia offense off the field, that's how they're going to win this game. They got to make a couple stops. They got to try and keep Will Grier off the field. But I just unfortunately don't see that happening completely. So I've got the score being West Virginia 31, Tennessee 23. So I think it's within a touchdown with the 2-point conversion, but I do think West Virginia is going to get the win, but I think it should be a fun matchup, and I think it should make Tennessee fans feel better because I think Tennessee will be competitive the whole game, which if you remember from last season, by the end of last season, Tennessee was just not competitive in any of these games at all. And speaking of that, Tennessee's season pick, I like the Vols to go 6-6. It's going to be a little rough to start the season. I think the way the season shapes out, I think Tennessee could start 2-6, which is, I know that's not fun for you, Smokey. I know, but that's what I think is pretty much going to happen. I think, though, the West Virginia game, we could win that game. Florida, we could win that game. South Carolina, maybe we'll see how the season goes from there. But from where I see it right now, I like Tennessee going 6-6. But that does mean I think they win their last 4 games against Charlotte, then against Kentucky, against Missouri, and then at Vanderbilt. I think if Tennessee wins the 4 straight games to finish out the regular season and get themselves bowl eligible and get to a bowl, everybody's going to feel very good about where Tennessee is going under head coach Jeremy Pruitt. But that's my feelings. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section. So comment, like, share, subscribe the video. This has been Michael Shibley signing off. Again, listen to the Modern Day Gladiators podcast when you get the chance. I love you guys. Too sweet. I'll see you after the Tennessee game. We'll do a little recap of it later that Saturday. Love you guys. Too sweet. See you next time.